Hey, David Wygant, 10-minute daily reality check here with my friend Greg. Hey, Greg.
Hey, what's going on?
You know, there's a book called Simplicity Parenting
Okay.
that was given to me by somebody I know. And it's all about screen time and keeping kids creative and genius and smart. And, well, how do you feel about kids in their screens? You know, when you go out, you see the kids buried in their parents' phones. Parents are sitting there at one side of the restaurant. The kid is sitting there at the other side of the restaurant. Or you see a kid with their iPad just staring at their iPad. Or a child has a television in their room at the ripe old age of 6, 7, or 8. What do you think about all that stuff being a dad?
Well, listen, this is interesting because literally yesterday I was running cable through my new house to decide which room was going to have a television in it. And I thought back to the other house I built in Boulder way back in the day, 15 years ago. And people are like, well, you got to have a TV in every room for the kids. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm not putting a TV in every room for the kids. That was 15 years ago. Now, flash forward, they don't even watch TV anymore. All they do is look at their phone. My 17-year-old comes over here, spends the weekend with me, and she disappears for hours watching Netflix on her phone, texting her friends, has these massive Snapchat stories back and forth, Instagram back and forth with her boyfriend in Boston. Have you ever seen a 17-year-old girl when she's on the phone, David?
You don't know because I've got a 7-year-old, but
Okay. Well,
tell me what a 17-year-old looks like.
Let me give you a little insight.
Please
You're
do.
sitting there looking at them, right? Because I'm here in my office now, and usually she's hanging out in here with me when I'm here. And you look over, and then you see her make like a clown face. She makes like another silly face. She makes a smile face, and that's what she's doing for hours, back and forth. She makes a face, takes the Snapchat, puts a little goofy title on it, maybe puts her crazy hair on there or mustache, like the fun stuff you do with Layla. And it just gets ridiculous. It goes on and on and on and on. And that's how they communicate. It's the most important thing I'm trying to teach my children is that they have to put the phone down and learn how to talk to somebody face to face.
It's funny because I've really for a long time have always said electronics are for making kids quiet, stupid, and lazy so they grow up to be non-thinkers.
Well, that's a problem. The whole world is becoming that. And, it leads into the other factor of trying to communicate with these kids now is extremely difficult because you cannot hold their attention. You have to be a master communicator in order to be able to hold a real conversation with my kids. And that requires me literally taking them out in nature where they have no phone. And then it takes a good hour or two for them to break down and start to realize like, okay, I don't have my phone to talk to. I can't get a hold of any of my friends. Stuck here with my dad. So I guess I'm going to have to talk to him.
It's funny because I went out with somebody and not that, I think parents all around are making mistakes, but I remember I went out to dinner with a couple of people and their kids were there. Their 12, 13-year-old and 14-year-old daughters were there. And it was unbelievable. The whole thing was unreal. The parents were all sitting there talking to each other. The kids were all in their own little worlds, staring at their phones the entire time, not even communicating or talking. It didn't matter where we were, what type of restaurant we were at. All the kids looked at was, can we have dessert? That was the only time they perked up. Can we have dessert, Mom?
Yeah, can we have some sugar, Mom?
Right. And I sat there and I thought to myself, great. We just all went out to dinner with your kids. Your kids didn't say a fucking word to us. They ate their meal, and then they want their next addiction, the sugar addiction. Give us sugar, because we have our screens. And it's amazing because I have tried to communicate with kids in the park. Because, when you go out with groups, the kids that don't have phones and the kids that play with their younger sisters and younger brothers will engage you in a conversation. They'll literally sit there and go, so tell me a little bit about yourself. They're interested in what I'm about, as an adult, right? These kids are actually, critical thinkers, right? But when I've met up with like the young kids with my daughter, and then they had the older kid who was on their phone, the older kid just nods at me, won't say a single word. And you're right, we'll literally sit there and post caveman emoticons to one another with their friends or looking at Snapchat all day long. And They are. Their kids are turning into critical non-thinkers. I mean, it's bad enough that we've turned kids into sugar addicts, and now we're turning them into fucking retards.
Well, in communication, I can't even stress. I mean, adults can barely communicate anymore. I mean, adults can't figure it out because, in the dating world, as you are in, people are trying to figure out how to communicate through their phone because no one wants to communicate face to face anymore. And what I've told my children over and over again, I don't care where you go to college. I don't care if you even go to college because, I'm not actually a big proponent of going to college and that's going to find you this great job and you're going to be happy and you're going to be successful and you're going to be wealthy. It's not going to happen. If you can't communicate with somebody, you're going to lose every time. And I don't care if you have a Harvard grad who can't talk and can't communicate, and you got Joe Blow who went to some state school who actually is, spent a lot of time working on himself and working on how to communicate and how to better himself as a person. He's going to get the job every single time.
Yeah, I mean, the lack of communication. I mean, Eddie and I were out today at lunch, and we went to Whole Foods. And I looked at him and I said, God, I would love to do a documentary and just play what life was 15 years ago before let's do the famous, what women love to do to us, quote, unquote, smartphone, right? But understand when women go and they throw it back to you in a text, quotes. Don't quote me ever, okay? It's just such a demeaning way of speaking to another human being. And that's another topic another day. But I'd love to look at videos from just 17 years ago, the turn of the century, when everybody was so, Y2K.
Yeah,
so
just going to say that.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'd love to dig through the video of what society was like, because Eddie and I were in Whole Foods today, and I looked at him, I said, Eddie, is it me or is just everybody here seems so fucking disconnected? I mean, everybody at Whole Foods were staring at their phones and looking down, and kids are just spacing out. And Eddie said it perfectly. When we were children, we exercised. When we went out after school, we ran around and we exercised. The only exercise kids have nowadays is their fingers get exercised. They look at their telephones. They stare at their little Snapchats. They stare at their screens. I mean, I'm looking around and I'm seeing kids really overweight at 8, 9, 10 years old. I'm seeing little girls have guts and little boys have guts that you don't get and you shouldn't have as a child. You shouldn't be so full of fat as a child. And you realize why. They're staring at their screens. They're not exercising and running around and enjoying life. They're staring at a screen and it's making them lazy and just so stupid.
They've all got a Joe. Well, when I was a kid, it was you got home, you came home when the streetlights came on. I grew up in a small town and you ran around and we played kickball in the street, baseball, football, whatever we did, we ran around all the time. Now, did I eat well back then? No, my parents didn't give a crap about what I ate. It was friggin' Cheerios after school. That was your snack. You had breakfast, you had lunch, and you had dinner, which you never really finished because mom wasn't that great of a cook. At least that was my house. But after we had dinner, we always went out, ride bikes, run around, and you'd do that every night until it was dark. And then you go home, you take a shower, drink a gallon of milk, and go to sleep. But now, I can't get my kids to do anything. I mean, trying to get them on a bike ride is painful. Trying to get them to go anywhere is painful. Getting them to disconnect is just difficult. You saw my Instagram post last week. I took my youngest daughter on a hike. And she's a bit of a jock. She likes to run. She's only 14. And she's relatively disconnected. In other words, disconnected from her phone. She's more connected to me when we're alone. So I made a game out of it. I said, who's going to go to the top? Who's going to win? And usually she kicks my ass every single time. But today I knew she was a little tired. So I made it a point just to walk faster than her. Didn't have my phone with me. We were laughing. We were joking. And I repeated back to her one time a statement that she said to me rather than active listening. In other words, I kind of said, yeah, you know what we do, David. Sometimes we're checking emails and you say something to me, I say something to you, and we kind of repeat it back because we're trying to carry the conversation. And she got really pissed. She got really mad at me. She's like, if you're not going to listen to me, I'm not going to bother talking. And I thought about that for a long time. I'm like, a lot of people don't do that anymore. How many times have you been in a conversation with somebody, for instance, in Whole Foods, and they really weren't listening and they got their face in their phone? And how many times have you actually said to them, hey, you know what? If you're not listening to me, I don't want to waste my time talking to you. Maybe we should.
Yeah, it's funny. Everybody's so afraid. I mean, that's the whole reason why the phone thing has really started. And what we're doing is we're socially showing children that it's okay to be rude. It's okay to disconnect. It's literally like it allows us to be safe because if you think about it, it's like actually going and talking to somebody and saying to them, yeah, you're being really rude right now. So instead of even having that opportunity in that moment nowadays, we're not even giving that opportunity. And I love the fact that your daughter says that because, I mean, whenever I use my phone with Layla, I always tell her, look, I got to text somebody back for a work thing. I explain it to her, and I say, hey, I got to, I'm texting, your friend for a play date right now. Or, I'm texting our friends that we're meeting later on. I'm checking to see that. I always try, and I'm not 100% perfect at it, but I always try to let her know I'm doing something that is either A, because work, I have to check something for work, someone's doing something for me, or B, something about our plans. So she doesn't think that as a parent, I'm just buried my head in it because we are just the role models for our kids. And I remember when Layla was 5, I asked her, I said, Layla, I said, who texts more, moms or dads? Just joking around. Because moms are always on their phones all the time. Kids are playing and moms are always staring at their phones. I didn't solicit that answer from her at all. I didn't try to solicit that answer. That was just her perception of the world. So if kids see us doing it, then they think it's okay for them to do it. And you're right, they're doing it. These kids are fat, out of shape, and not doing anything that comes down to physical activity anymore because the world now revolves inside the phone. And it's a shame because kids are not learning how to be social. They're learning how to like each other virtually than like each other in person.
True. And her point was, this is how deep this conversation went. And, as you know, I disappeared for a period of time and was not with my children for almost 14 months. And before that, I was obsessed with my phone because it was all work related, because I was trying to keep my business afloat and trying to make money. And I would never, never ignore a call, never ignore an email. I had to get on it right away because I had to keep things going. She made it a point to say to me that for years, Dad, I wanted to talk to you. I wanted to spend time with you, and you were never there. You were never there. You were never present. And now, this is the only day because we're together every Wednesday afternoon. She's like, and you decided to take me on a hike, and here we are doing it, and you're not even listening to me. I have to tell you, that hurt, and it hit me hard. It really hit me hard because it made me wake up and realize that, man, you've got only so much time. You only get so much time before she's going to not give a shit about me anymore. The 19-year-old's off at college, the 17-year-old's graduating early because she wants to go to college. And then what's going to happen? I'll be empty nester guy in 3 years. So, and I have one that wants to spend time with me and I'm ignoring it. That's the problem with these people. It's a problem with kids. They don't understand it right now when they're really little, but hopefully when they get a little bit older, they will. But it's up to parents to really decide and show them and lead by example, which I know you and I try to do every day by just chatting people up to the point where most of the time kids think it's annoying.
Yeah, it's funny because my daughter sometimes I'll talk to people that are around me, and Layla will look at me and say, "Daddy, do you like that girl?" No, Layla, I don't like that girl. Why are we talking to her? I said, because she was standing next to me, and she's a person, and I might be able to learn something from her. And I thought she was really nice, and I enjoyed the moment talking to her. You're not in love with her, are you? No, I'm not in love with her at all. It's nice to talk to people. It's a way that we should be. We shouldn't be all on our phones. I remember for a while I was taking pictures of people on their phones with Layla there. And Layla was teaching Layla, Layla and I were playing a game going, let's see who we can catch on their phone. And she'd be like, Dad, that's another person. There's another person on their phone. Look, there's another person. So she gets it. She gets what it's like being present. And, the other day we were driving home and I did the usual, throw kids around all day long. I mean, the exhausting when kids are 7 and 8 years old. And I said, Layla, I said, when you play with other dads, I said, do any of them do that? And she mentioned only one other dad that does that. And I said, no. I said, let's go through all the dads, right? And, there were a couple that did this and that. I said, look, it doesn't matter how a dad plays as long as a dad is engaging in playing. And she talked about the dads that were disconnected that just sat there and the moms that sat there that were disconnected. And they noticed this stuff so much. It's like we as parents, if we're going to spend the day with our kids, we're spending the day with our kids, not with our devices. And I think we need to really embrace that. And today's reality is if you're a parent, you're showing your kid what reality really is. So if you want your kid to walk around like you do in Whole Foods with your head buried down with blowjob neck because your head is perpetually fucking crooked forward, then your kids are going to walk and do the same exact thing because they're the ultimate mimickers. You wear too much makeup, your daughter's going to wear too much makeup. You're out of shape, your kid most likely will be out of shape. You're a Jets fan? Oh, God, your kid.
God help that poor little lady.
God help that poor kid. But realize you're going to be a role model for your children. Anything you want to add, Greg, before we tune out today's reality?
No, the only thing I want to add is I think it's important that while this is a message about our children, it's important for everybody. I mean, because you see it every single day. We battle it every day trying to connect with people because people just aren't present. And when you do finally meet that person that is present, it's a gift and you got to take the time to actually talk to them.
That's reality. Today is a gift, man. Everybody who goes and talks to you, look at it as a gift. And if someone gives you a gift of an iPad for Christmas, look at them and say, no, thank you. I'd much rather take my eyes and look at you than take my eyes and look at a pad. See you tomorrow on The Reality Check.